This dinner gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Thanks for inviting me. Please have a seat if you have one. If you don't, come on up with me. Adriano, thanks for that introduction. Thank you to Nanette and the 42 members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, a record number. Thanks also to the members of my cabinet who are here tonight, the most diverse cabinet in American history, including Secretary Brassard, Mr. Secretary, Secretary Cardona. We're doing all this while reducing the deficit. I love our friends on the right talk about, mega guys, about reducing the deficit. Give me a break. On my watch, deficits have already fallen over $1 trillion. And I signed legislation to reduce the deficit by another $1 trillion in the next decade. The last guy had a $400 billion deficit over 4 years. We're doing it by making the wealthy and big corporations begin to start to pay their fair share. Anybody out here think the tax system is fair? Raise your hand. Well, we have about 1,000 billionaires in America. You know what the average rate, the average rate that they pay for federal taxes? 8% in federal income taxes. 8. That's less than a firefighter or a teacher. It's wrong. And I'm proposing a billionaire minimum.
Now, what we're also going to say is that all the programs have represent the largest modern U.S. experiment in unrestricted cash payments, with more than 12,000 Californians expected to receive more than $180 million in public and private funds. Nowhere else have so many guaranteed income pilot programs launched at the same place. Keep that in mind, folks, because a new advocacy group actually doesn't want to let Republican lawmakers who oppose student loan forgiveness off of the hook. This Thursday, a nonprofit called Protect the Borrowers Action released an ad that criticized 13 Republicans and who voted back-to-back student debt relief. At the end of June this month and next month as well for August, the Supreme Court has struck down Biden's plan to cancel up to $20,000 in student debt for the federal borrowers. It came after both the House and the Senate passed a bill to take back Biden's debt relief that the president ultimately vetoed. So while Biden has announced a new plan to get borrowers relief during a different law, it's called the Higher Education Act, many Republican lawmakers don't even want to actually be carried on this. Biden acknowledged that delivering relief through the Higher Education Act will take some time because it requires the policy to go through a negotiated rulemaking process, which includes hearings and public commitment. Still, payments are scheduled to resume in
October. This works hand in hand with the Inflation Reduction Act to really boost American innovation, competitiveness, and security. So we've clearly given the Department of Energy a lot of work to do. Congress has spoken clearly over the last 2 years. Between the Energy Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill, and the Inflation Reduction Act,
it looks like economists have released a big warning to Americans. The recession is pushing more people, including families and retirees, into poverty.
16 million people had already been approved. The money was literally about to go out the door. And then Republican elected officials and special interests stepped in. They said, no, no. Literally snatching from the hands of millions of Americans thousands of dollars in student debt relief that was about to change their lives. You know, these Republican officials just couldn't bear the thought of providing relief for working class, middle class Americans. Republican state officials sued my administration, attempting to block relief, including millions of their own constituents. Republicans in Congress voted to overturn the plan. I think every one. I don't think I had any Republican votes for this plan. At the same time, think about this. We all supported the Paycheck Protection Program, remember? PPP, you know, which was designed to help business owners who lost money because of the pandemic.
20 taxes. Several changes from 2019 tax returns could make you eligible for more stimulus money. If you had a baby in 2020, if you claimed another dependent in 2020, or if you made less in 2020 than 2019. And don't worry, you won't lose any stimulus money if you made more in 2020. But be ready to wait for your check. The IRS has until the end of the year to send plus-up payments.
If you don't get it by December 31st, then it will be on your next year's tax return.
Another reason for delay? If you didn't have the correct amount of stimulus money.
Low-income families can also get stimulus checks this year. The majority of taxpayers received their refunds in November, though some people are still waiting for money. The State Revenue Service said that those are eligible who have not received the checks yet should just wait by December 29th to receive the stimulus, if you haven't gotten one already. And it still needs to clear several steps before it becomes law. Last week, the mayor said that he'd revealed the details of the plan to send monthly checks from Missouri to low-income families. The plan calls for using $5 million in federal crisis aid to send $500 to families for 18 months. Now, around 3 million Massachusetts residents are set to receive tax rebates worth around 14% of what they paid in state income taxes. Folks, get ready for stimulus, it's here. I finally have some good news about the Ford stimulus check, and this time it is the truth. There is a ton of information that I want you guys to know about the Ford stimulus payment. A ton of news that you have to cover. The rebates will be sent directly to taxpayers' bank accounts through direct deposit. Otherwise, the rebate will be sent as a check in the mail for those who do not have direct deposit set up. The total received for the rebates is a set of fractions of one paid income tax, meaning higher earners will earn much more than that. A person who makes 35 grand will receive 200, while someone who makes $1 million would receive 7,000. There's plenty of time for people to file a tax return, as the deadline for this rebate is extended through September of next year. Prices rose less than expected, and the latest sign is that the runaway inflation has been gripping the economy even worse. The Labor Department reported again that the Consumer Price Index, which measures a wide basket of goods and services, rose just 0.1% from the previous month and increased 7.1% from a year ago. Economists had already been expecting a 0.3% monthly increase and a 7.3% 12% monthly rate. So the increase from a year ago, while above the Federal Reserve's target for a healthy inflation level, was tied for the lowest since November. It excludes volatile food and energy prices, and so-called the core consumer price index rose 0.2%.
What is this going to look like? Well, the Biden plan right now calls for $1,400 for individuals who make up to $75,000 and married couples who make up to $100,000. But Republicans say this needs to be more targeted. It has to go, they say, to the people who need it the most. So they're proposing lowering that amount from $1,400 to $1,000 for anybody making under $40,000. If you make over $50,000, well, under the Republican plan, the checks would disappear completely. Now, we heard from Maryland Republican Congressman Andy.
We finally have some breaking news around the Ford stimulus check, and now they've released a new announcement on the United States economy. Americans are finally ready to see the financial relief at the grocery store and gas stations. But lawmakers are insisting that the government set aside more stimulus for retirees and seniors, and I definitely agree because stimulus payments are necessary. Many lawmakers and economists are looking at Joe Biden's sweeping stimulus package and its impact on the country. The American Rescue Plan Act, which cost a whopping $1.9 trillion, had a slew of provisions tucked into it and help battle the fallout of the crisis and plug holes in the social safety net. One of them is the Lewis Act, and this legislation was meant to shore up the finances of multi-employer pension plans, which are responsible for providing benefits to the retirees. And before the American Rescue Plan was signed into law, many plans were in a financial crisis. Beforehand, the House Education on House Committee and Labor warned that failing plans will enable to help the people who need benefits the most and they're owed to retirees, and that the funding for this program that helped so many Americans was running low. But